Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another seminar with the Iranian American Women Foundation. We're so glad you're here with us today. My name is Azita Alavi, and I'm a leadership coach and consultant and a member of the Northern California IAWF Leadership Committee. I have the honor to be the moderator for today's discussion. It's very heartwarming to see many familiar and new voices. But we understand that it's a Sunday morning and maybe you would have liked to spend time with your family or outdoors rather than sitting at your computers, something I'm guessing you've been doing a lot in the past couple of months. So on behalf of my friends at IAWF, we would like to express our gratitude for your precious time, and we want to ensure that you will find value in today's panel discussion. Very quickly, let's get clear on a few items before we start. Our program will be about 90 minutes. We decided to mute all lines to have a smooth flow of discussions. After the panel discussion, we will have time for your questions. So we invite you to please type in your questions in the chat section, and depending on our time, we will try our best to answer them. Please make sure your questions are relevant to the topic of our discussion. Our webinar today is hosted by the Northern California chapter for the purpose of having some important discussions that we think can help and add value to all of us. Today, we want to talk about the future of work, the future that's already here in front of us. There has been a lot of discussion around the impact technology and artificial intelligence will have on the future of work. And yet, ever since COVID-19 swept the globe, the message about our future has become even clearer. And what started as a few weeks of working from home has evolved into a catalyst for change regarding how we work and live. The world in the past few months has experienced a burst of fast forwarding path into the future of work and has put into test the ability of the workforce, educational system, and industries, and has blended people and technology in the most dynamic environment many of us has ever seen. I think we all know that because of artificial intelligence and automation, the need for technological skills will continue to rise. And we also hear that the demand for physical and manual skills will continue to fall. These changes will require people everywhere to deepen their existing skill sets or acquire new ones. The workforce will also need to rethink how work is organized and performed. We need to admit that the future is coming to us faster than ever, and that really means we need to change, reread our situation, change again, and continue changing. So the question is, where are we going? And how can we prepare better for what automation and artificial intelligence has in store for us and our jobs? What kind of skills do we need to develop to stay relevant in this digitized world with such rapid technological changes? How this disrupting change is impacting corporations, the educational systems, and other industries. But before we start, it's important to mention that in this discussion, we don't intend to predict the future, and we don't have all the answers because no one can predict the future. But our panelists will share their findings and experience and will give us the answer to some of our questions. So today, we have the honor of having these two distinguished and dedicated leaders, Mrs. Yassi Moghaddam and Mrs. Mojgan Momeni. Yassi Moghaddam is the Executive Director of the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals, ISSIP, a non-profit organization that promotes people-centered digital innovation across the globe. She has been catalyzing industry-academia collaboration in cutting-edge research, best industry practices, and innovative educational models. Yassi is also the managing director of StradaNet, a Silicon Valley-based consulting firm that helps organizations grow through digital services innovation. Yassi holds an MBA from Columbia University, a Master of Science in Electrical Engineering from Georgia Institute of Technology. Welcome, Yassi.
Thank you very much.
Mojgan Momeni is the executive director and founder of World Innovations Network, a nonprofit organization that teaches real-world knowledge on market innovations from mentors and successful entrepreneurs that aim to innovate new solutions to big problems the world faces. Mojgan has 20 years of nonprofit philanthropy experience in the education sector, with a significant part working with the world's largest international educational nonprofit organization, IAWF, International Education and Resource Network, which is a project-based learning initiative. Mojgan has a master's degree in information science from the University of Illinois, where she was a visiting assistant professor. Welcome, Mojgan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies, for accepting our invitation. We're so excited you're going to tell us everything we need to know about robots, automation, the future, like everything.
No pressure.
No, I'm kidding. I'm really kidding. That's a joke. But I'm really excited that you're here. And this is not a joke. This part is really true. So you have been both doing a lot of research, doing consultation, and working in the past 2 decades in the areas of change and innovation. You both have been advising the educational system and the corporate world to get ready for the skill sets it's believed we need for the future. Help us make sense of what's coming. I would like to start with you, Yassi Jan. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Sure. I started my career in technology at a place called Bell Labs. Some of you may know what that is or was. And I started as an engineer and moved over to business side of things. And you know, my career is really a reflection of what is happening in today's age, where, you know, I started as an engineer. Now I'm doing service innovation and nonprofit. The organization that I run, the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals, is a nonprofit, as Azita mentioned. It's with a focus to ensure technology serves humans and life, not the other way around. And one of the major things that we do is we work with industry, academia, and government agencies to help prepare the workforce for both challenges and opportunities of future of work, which is really here now. As Azita, you said, COVID-19 really expedited a lot of the trends that had already started. But this future started a couple of decades ago, and it's just accelerating.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Yassi Jan. In your book, which is called The Future of Work, same name, you industry experts and academia discuss how innovative companies are leveraging artificial intelligence and automation, as you just mentioned, in order to make the workforce more inclusive, to enhance the work humans do rather than replacing it. Since I'm working with youth, I want to first ask your advice for young generation getting ready for college today. How should they prepare? What skills will be in demand, Yassi Jan?
I think it's helpful to give a bit of context of the work environment in which our future generation will enter. Technological innovation is going at an unprecedented rapid rate. That is resulting in new jobs and requirements for new skills. That is also resulting in some job losses. And if we are intentional about it, if we are design-minded about it, we can really create opportunities for everyone to thrive in this future empowered by technology and AI. So, number one, a rapid rate of change. Number two, there is a significant difference in how the workforce was when I first started my career, and I'm dating myself, close to 30 years ago. And what is happening today from the perspective of today, the new graduates and even before graduating, people have a whole lot more opportunities to be entrepreneurs, to be job seekers, to be job creators rather than job seekers. And there's a reason for that. The barrier to entry for access to technology has been really lowered. So if 20 years ago, if I wanted to do something significant in STEM, I would have to be hired by a company. Now, I can basically set up myself as a freelancer. And in fact, that trend is really growing right now. About 30% of the US workforce is freelancer. The challenge is there is a spectrum in that freelancing environment. There is really the low-skilled workers that are working around platforms such as Uber and Lyft, and they're at much higher risk of automation. But there's also the high-skilled worker, the knowledge service worker. And those are the ones that really are high-skilled freelancers that can become startups. So the composition of the workforce is very different. And so if I am graduating from college, I can ask myself that question, which path do I want to take? And there are different sets of skills that one can develop. Sorry. Also, as you mentioned, work is a whole lot more distributed. COVID-19 turbocharged that, but that trend had started and was happening. It's just now happening at a much shorter time. And that has a lot of implications on, especially in the sense of belonging, building a culture. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it presents challenges and opportunities. And then the last thing I would say is more and more, the workforce will be partnering with technology rather than using technology. And that has huge implications.
Wow, awesome. So I guess you agree with this Daniel Susskind, the author of World Without Work. He's the former Blair's policy advisor in UK. He says the younger generation will either have to be good at the sort of things the systems and machines can't do, or they have to build the machines themselves. Do you agree with that?
Well, I agree with that statement, but Susskind also is in the camp of technology unemployment, meaning technology is going to, for good, create unemployment. Right. And I don't believe in that. Right. I think as technologies grow, human capacity will grow, and there will be other jobs, and this will happen at a much rapid rate. And for us, we just need to adapt and change and, upskill.
Absolutely. So what's your advice to the younger generation?
So, I think really as a model, as a map for managing your career is, I think of it in terms of a T. A T has an I and has a bar, right? So I tell the younger generation that you need to be both specialized, and you need to also be broad. So it's not one or the other. We all need to be specialists and we all need to be generalists. Now, if you are in the world of STEM, that means, how do you develop that I? Computer science, mathematics, engineering, but also it is the application of those things in various industries, right? It's not enough just to know how to code, because computers are going to learn that. But if you have deep expertise into one of these other industries, you will be needed in the world of work. And then on the broad side, you have to develop yourself, because I think we are really entering into the age of what I call inclusive specialization versus exclusive specialization. When I went to school, that was the age of exclusive specialization. If I were an engineer, I wasn't really expected to interface with customers and interface with the outside world. But now everyone, given that the connection points that every brand has to the outside world, everyone is somehow in customer service. So really, it's really important to develop that breadth. And that breadth really consists of soft skills, ability to communicate, critical thinking, empathy, and also work practice skills. So the ones, and those work practice skills are like agile methods, right? Design thinking, service thinking. And I think also there is a mindset, in addition to skills, that the younger generation need to have. One of those, really embracing change, because change is going to be the constant. Yes. And how do you do that? You really develop a muscle for constantly learning. And there's a great book by Carol Dweck, professor at Stanford, called Mindset. Absolutely. Really, I think it should be required reading for every high school student and college student.
Growth mindset versus fixed mindset.
Exactly. Yes. So we all need to have growth mindset, because we have tremendous capabilities to learn and grow, and that's what we need to do. And last thing I would say is our younger generation need to develop a service mindset, and that is, the question shouldn't be what job can I get, but how can I serve? Given this challenge, given this problem, how can I serve? And so, that would be my advice.
I love that. I love that last sentence. They have to look for how to serve, not what kind of jobs they need to get. I love that. So I just want to ask you about mid-career professionals. What advice do you have for us, Yassi Jan? How can we prepare?
So mid-career professionals will have a little bit of a different challenge. So, younger generation, they are digital natives. So integrating technology into their lives is a whole lot easier for them. Mid-career people like us, we need to learn to constantly learn new technologies. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we need to become more inclusive in our focus. In other words, we need to, on that, the T model, we need to go across. We need to learn how to apply design thinking to everyday problem. You know, agile methods, service thinking methods, and also really working on those soft skills, especially those of us who have been, you know, like in engineering and computer science fields. You know, it's similar, but I think the mid-career people might have a tougher time with it.
Right, I agree. And also you mentioned, you know, being open to learning and change isn't enough. We need to be T-shaped professionals. Like, you have to be adaptive innovators, and we need broad communication skills and deep problem solving skills. That's so good. And also I loved again what you said about, you know, we have to think now about how to serve and to contribute rather than what kind of job we can get. I love that. Mojgan Jun, would you like to add anything here?
Yes, thank you.
Actually, let me just ask you, we are very happy that you're here. And I just want to talk about first your organization before. World Innovation Network, your not-for-profit, is running workshops and engaging mentors to introduce young participants and community college students to the 21st century needed skills such as problem solving and reasonable entrepreneurship through design and innovative thinking. Can you let us know how artificial intelligence, first, just give us a little bit about yourself, and then I'm going to ask these questions. Maybe just tell us a bit about yourself, Mojgan Jan, first.
Thank you. First of all, thank you and all IAWF director and all team members for having me today alongside Yassi June to have this very interesting discussion. I would say that I have a diverse background in education and career, so I completely understand what is needed. And that was not by design, it just happened. So I started my career with nonprofits in education. I was the international affair director of the nonprofit in education, and in close contact with iEarn was a global collaboration. And then my work in academia in University of Illinois, and then to California with startups and corporate world and technology. So all of that, I never stopped working with youth and education. That's one thing. And with this diverse background, I thought I'm in the good position to start this journey with some like-minded individuals, and found World Innovations Network. And in time, if I will expand on it more, but I like to add to what Yassi John said, if I may.
Absolutely, please.
And the magnitude of change in the current industrial revolution, which is the fourth industrial revolution, is huge and at high speed compared to the previous decades and centuries. Automation, I believe, demands change to education, learning new interdisciplinary skills more often, learning AI-based application for those in their mid-careers, as you mentioned, like mastering CRM, customer relation management, for the smoother operation in the business world. With AI and all the new technologies, titles and positions won't matter anymore. It will only be tasks, skills, and the mindset, as Yassi Jun mentioned. And I can think of a good example, my own example with Sharif University of Technology. which is former Aryamer University of Technology. It was founded as a MIT sister university. The graduates have been extremely successful in securing a scholarship from US Ivy League schools, universities, and later on they have gone to become successful academic or high achieving professionals in their fields of science and technology. But I saw, and I believe, and I saw that firsthand, that they were not only brilliant in their STEM field, but also were passionately involved in a variety of arts and social sciences, clubs and activities such as poetry, cinema, theater, writing, photography. I think this shows how arts and interdisciplinary education can help grow your creativity, which expands your horizon.
I love that. Thank you so much for your contribution, Mojgan. So I want to get back to you again with another question. Can you kindly let us know how artificial intelligence is impacting the education system? And what would be the transforming approach to education?
Technology, artificial intelligence, is now an integral part of education. AI implementation varies across school districts, whether K through 12 or college. For example, some K through 12 educators are leveraging some new content monitoring tools for access control, flagging critical context, or smart Moodles. It's a interactive platform for the educator and students to recognize the strengths and weaknesses of the student for personalized access.
Wow.
Access is one matter. Adoption is one matter, but schools need to balance the implementation of AI effectively and securely, especially with under 18-year-old students. And then block the unwanted external influence. And this was the first part of my response to your question. The second part is an approach to education for change, which is what we are doing at World Innovations Network. I'm glad that now I have a chance to expand on that. And as Renajun mentioned earlier, we talk the talk and walk the walk with what we believe. Me and my team thought about and talked about the next 20 years and saw the caveat of skills and knowledge of the future workforce. And of course, we all know that the future economic advancement depends on this younger adults developing into competent, agile, and adaptive next generation leaders, innovators, movers. And therefore, we joined forces with Stanford University and Berkeley professors and West Valley Community College professor and Silicon Valley top executive, and designed a program to address the issue. Our board members, our team board members are all diverse, both in ethnicity and educational background. We just launched our pilot program at West Valley Community College.
Yes.
With Renee, Dean of Professional School. The pilot program consisted of a two-day workshop with 4 modules: innovative and design thinking, learning how to learn, ecosystem in entrepreneurship, and then from idea to business, and responsible entrepreneurship, in other words. Initially, we were planning to have the workshop at the Entrepreneurship Club at West Valley Community College with the help of Renee. But as all you know, this COVID-19 and the global pandemic happened.
Mhm.
But we were so passionate about our work that we didn't waste any time, and we transformed our entire program to virtual format, utilizing all kind of technology to build an IT infrastructure, create an interesting and interacting workshop series. We and me and my team we learn new skills and new platforms to
Awesome.
communicate with the students. It was exciting to, learning at any age is exciting.
That's excellent.
The workshops are structured to promote diversity, problem solving, interdisciplinary, and team-based learning. Our workshops and projects focus on social, economic, and environmental impact of innovation and entrepreneurship. The project-based learning fosters entrepreneurial mentality, emotional intelligence, design thinking, and a growth mindset in general.
That's awesome.
And most importantly, innovation, which pivots around the overarching role of AI in all aspects of the professional and educational life of our trainees. We aim to guide the young future professionals to cope with the adjustment period.
Awesome.
In the next phase, we're adding introduction to AI, followed by hands-on technical project programs with data science.
Thank you, Mojgan. Awesome, thank you. I'd like to get back to you, Yassi Jan. Do you want to add anything to what Mojgan just shared with us as to how artificial intelligence is impacting the education system, in your opinion, and what would be the transforming approach?
Sure, would be happy to build on what Mojgan said. Actually, I totally agree with her on the need for project-based learning and really for third parties that can come between in this space of education and employment and fill some of the gaps, because I think there are lots of gaps and project-based learning is a great way to fill that. I also have a slightly different perspective from a different angle. I work mostly with higher education institutions, and the thing that I see that I think universities really need to change. The business model of most of the universities were created and still persist based on content, when content wasn't this ubiquitous, right? Now content is ubiquitous, but universities still act as if content is really the value. And I think, today I can go on a Coursera and edX, I can build my own curriculum to target it to get hired to a specific company, like, and Google's and Facebook's and Amazon's are really open to that. But the thing that I miss by doing that is being connected to that community of peers, that they're lifelong friends and collaborators, the community of professors, the good ones. I can benefit from their wisdom, I can benefit from their network. So I think there's an opportunity for higher education to reinvent itself as with their strength as community. And I often see the analogy to libraries. Libraries 20 years ago had the same reason for being, content, but today is really a center. I mean, this is before COVID, center of community coming together. And I think after COVID, those who really just relied on content delivery, they are struggling and they're really facing an existential crisis, I think.
Wow.
I'm so happy that Yassi John mentioned that. Sorry, Azita John, if I may
Oh, please,
add a
please.
little short. I think Yassi John, I'll make you proud to say I forgot to mention that um, following our workshops, exactly what Yassi John said. We engaged the students in the projects that actually interacted with their communities in 3 different fields. It was an 8-week internship, and one was in environment, one was in social, like student homelessness, and the other was address the underlying cause of COVID-19 in Santa Clara County. So I'm just so in line with what just Yassi said. We engaged them in the community, and not just an internship shoving papers around. We gave them like wings to grow.
Yeah.
Wow. Very awesome, both of you. Really critical point. Creating a community for people to belong is really a difference maker, isn't it? Because what people miss now is the human connection, is the human connection, is the human touch, is the communication. So Yassijun, let me get back to you. So should people pursue their passion in liberal arts still? Should they do that? Because that's a question we get a lot of times. Or should people more think of STEM and related fields? What should be their...
I actually don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think absolutely yes and yes. I think there is, contrary to belief with some of our politicians and even higher ed institutions, there's going to be more need for liberal arts because there is, and that has already started, because there's a whole lot more blending between technology and art. And that is only going to grow, because if today our interface to the internet is our smartphone or our laptop, tomorrow it's going to be integrated into everything. And it has to be seamless. In order for that to happen, we need artists. Engineers, in and of themselves, they cannot do it. So absolutely yes. And I typically have a rule of thumb that I share with students that I work with, which is if you're in STEM, you need to be mindful of getting more of the liberal arts education. And if you're in liberal arts, you need to be more digitally savvy. You need to be mindful of how technology is going to impact your field and how to leverage technology. And in fact, more and more innovation really happens in teams. And I think teams that have both of those blends are really higher performing teams. And that's why you see companies like Google, Apple, Facebook. Very often I see people who have hired with, let's say, a bachelor's in English literature with a master's in computer science, or a bachelor's in computer science, master's in philosophy. And I also see that this trend is going to continue, because as more and more routine jobs get relegated to the machines, we humans need to step up and own our humanity. One of those things is our inquisitiveness, our critical thinking, asking the right question to solve our many problems, many social and environmental problems. And so yes, absolutely, I think liberal arts is going to play a role. And it has to be designed well.
So good, so good. I completely agree with you. Liberal arts like psychology and history and philosophy really deepen our knowledge and broaden our perspective, isn't it?
Absolutely.
They're always needed. And, you know, studies have shown that readers of history and literature have even higher cognitive abilities and are more really civically engaged.
Right.
They care about their citizenship. And so STEM and liberal arts should come side by side. Mm-hmm. Awesome. I knew this would be an amazing session, and I'm learning so much, this great information from, both of you. It's just amazing. And I hope everybody is taking notes and considering sharing this information with others. Dear Mojgan, now, in terms of jobs, what are the automation trends that are impacting the future of jobs? Should we get ready for our robot bosses to come and give us the 2-week notice? Really, are we being replaced?
Oh, very good question. Since the dawn of every industrial revolution, we are again at the fourth industrial revolution. They call it 4.0. The fear of mass unemployment has terrified people. Such as the invention of the steam engine, replacing buggies with locomotives, or steamboats replaced paddle boats. Google CEO Sundar Pichai says, AI is more profound than fire and electricity. So we may not realize it, but AI is already part of our lives. It's Siri, Alexa, speech recognition, digital marketing, which is synchronized across all our devices. I'm sure all of you have experienced it. Another example of automation trends is the upcoming autonomous vehicles and aircraft. While truck drivers may soon lose their jobs to automation, in the maybe near future, their position in the transportation industry will shift to human-machine collaboration, adding intuition, emotional intelligence, empathy, innovation, mental and physical agility, which are all human attributes. Plus, we need human trainers for the period of adjustment. The human AI collaboration unlocks the exponential value of business and life in general, in my opinion. The idea of robots or machines emulating human intelligence, thinking abstractively and creatively and taking over our lives, I think, at least in our lifetime, will remain in sci-fi movies.
Okay.
AI helps us make better and more efficient decisions, not replacing us. Of course, I'm not oblivious to the ham-fisted handling of so many instances by the AI operating companies that control our shopping trends, driving, etc. But the short answer to your question is no. No pink slips from robots. We are the creative minds, and we program what computers do. It's interesting that what PwC, which is a $42 billion company providing professional services, predicts that in the next 20 years, through AI and automation, there will be 20% more jobs than what we have today. And most of these jobs will be in healthcare and social work, followed by science, technology, law, and advertising sectors. The main obstacle in the future is the re-education, not unemployment, in my opinion.
Awesome. Wonderful. So first of all, good to know that humans never get obsolete. And also, under further notice, my friends, we get to keep our jobs. That's a huge relief. So is, as you say, so interesting to know that, you know, the higher demand will be in healthcare and social work. So something we should take note of. So Yassi, you said we need to keep learning, but most importantly, we need to be creative and innovative. I think you mentioned that we should be more of job creators rather than job seekers. So can you please tell us how the nature of work changes in the next several decades?
Yeah, let me actually give you an example of today. I think that example might clarify some things. So let's look at two companies, both for their time, darlings of Wall Street. One, AT&T in 1984. The other one, Apple, let's say 2015. AT&T at that time employed 1 million people, revenue of $70 billion with today's dollars. And Apple, in 2015, employed 74,000 people, revenue of, I believe, 1.3 billion, 130 billion, I'm sorry, 130 billion. Now, one would say, well, jobs are going away then, right? 70,000 versus a million. Sure. But the piece that doesn't get talked about a lot is that Apple has an app store employing 1.3 million developers, right? So what is really happening, and this is really creating a lot of opportunities for job creators.
In the background, yeah.
Yeah, so think of these platforms, and it started in technology, but it's going in every industry. These platforms such as iOS platform, such as Chrome, where they're really platforms of innovation, where it builds ecosystems, right? And more jobs are going to be, work is going to be done in that type of a construct. Yeah. Okay. So, and like I said, I believe this is just a tip of the iceberg. These platforms are increasing in tech, but also going into other industries. Autonomous vehicles, they could, and I think they will be, another platform for app development. Because when you're not driving in an autonomous vehicle, you can get lots of services on top of it. Now, someone will create those services. There could be closed platforms, Tesla doing that all by its own, but someone will come up with an open platform that will allow the crowd to come in.
I see.
And create apps on top of it. Now, this is a very simplified version of this, like Mojgan mentioned, in the context of education, issues of security and privacy. That issue, when in a world of digital knowledge, is really paramount, and we need to address it. But assuming those things will be addressed, this is the trend, really, that more and more people can be job creators.
I see. So you mentioned, do you think some of the jobs, like as Mojgan mentioned to us I think in transportation, in some industries will be basically more at risk? Like we know that, Uber, for example, that's something that if we need, there will be autonomous cars. So that's something that will be in jeopardy. So do you think there will be loss in, some sectors, some areas, job losses? Because
so that's an excellent question. There are two kinds of platforms, right? There are platforms where high-skilled workers are producing, millions of them producing solutions for billions of users.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Those are the series, the iOSs of the world, and Chromes and AWS. Then there are the other end, where the producers are low-end skills, the drivers of the Uber. And why is Uber and Lyft and all of those having major programs with autonomous vehicles? So, you know, if you're a driver in that space, your job is at high risk of automation. Now, many in autonomous vehicles argue that passenger-driven cars will never be without any operator. Think of airplane pilots. You know, pretty much airplanes now can fly on their own, but you know, I won't go on a plane without a pilot. But so one could theoretically say car drivers could become AV operators. But to operate an AV today, I interviewed a few experts a few years back. Minimum, they need a bachelor's degree, right? So this is what Mojgan was saying. Jobs will be displaced.
Absolutely.
Right? And if people are willing and given the opportunity, because I think it goes both ways. It's not just willingness, but they need to be given the opportunity to upskill. Then there are thriving jobs.
Awesome. Great to know. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Yassi Jan. Mojgan Jan, do you think AI should be regulated? Because you know, so apparently AI is doing something to our lives. So maybe it should be tax and money. The tax money should be funneled to people whose jobs are being affected. What do you think about that?
Well, definitely. Critical information protection is an immediate concern. Without AI ethics, we're going nowhere. But it doesn't mean that specific laws should be created for AI. Only some regulatory bodies enforcing and monitoring existing laws, such as privacy, discrimination, car safety, and such. The General Data Protection was introduced by the EU in 2018 to protect EU citizens and giving them more control over their private data. It was a right step and a good step in the right direction. But there is a need for a global standardized effort, ethical committee to monitor and maintain compliance regulation to establish trust with the public. On a smaller scale, companies need to design security and transparency into their AI application. They need to see the process of decision making at any event. Because machines do make mistakes, there should be a contingency plan in place in case of a problem. And these are the areas that robots are not able to suggest or enforce. Also, I just heard the White House announce the creation of AI and Quantum Research Institute to address these issues, which is great. But again, I wish there was an effort for a more global standardized. As for social and financial consequences of mass unemployment, public, private sectors, and policymakers should be ready for social welfare in case of unemployment for those who lose their jobs. Through AI and automation, such as robotics, drones, driverless cars, and so on, jobs are becoming much easier. For example, a radiologist does not need to go through dozens, if not hundreds, of images to locate a tumor for optimized radiotherapy. The images are analyzed in a fraction of time by a software called the inner eye. The physician is now has more time to create a new treatment or see more people. It's a matter of re-education and enabling the workers with new skills for the workforce of the future.
Great, awesome. Thank you so much for this wonderful answer. Actually, I realized that so re-education is now very, very important because human beings are always needed. As you mentioned, and as Yassi mentioned, we're not going to just step into an airplane without a pilot for a very long time, at least. So that was awesome. Thank you. Yassi I know that the study by Dell in 2018 showed that in 10 years, 85% of jobs that people do in 2030 don't even exist. So does that mean STEM is changing so rapidly that jobs we're doing now are becoming obsolete and many people will lose their jobs?
So the first part of that question, I think the answer is yes. Assuming the study, but I think that assuming the assumptions of the study, which I believe, but whether the time frame is that or not, no one knows. But I think the opportunity is that many of us who are doing certain jobs today, that job could evolve into something different, right? As we incorporate technology into that job. And so, yes, you know, many jobs could go away in the process, but many will evolve into new ones, and many new ones, you know, fresh ones, not evolved ones, will come in. And you can actually see that not just in the future. Just think of the jobs in the past, right? The last 20 years. 20 years ago, we just started having web designers, right?
Yes.
App developers 10 years ago, bloggers, you know, and the list goes on and on and on. And we're just at the beginning of this. So, you know, yes. So the point of that study actually is the urgency to learn and relearn. Because if we want to really be productive in that sort of a work environment, we just need to spot how things are happening and where it's going, and then learn new skills and adapt.
Love that. Learn and relearn. Absolutely. Wow. Mojgan, let me ask you this question. It seems that we're not doing such a great job in raising public awareness because we don't hear about these things on TV or social media often enough, in my opinion. How can we do a better job in raising awareness of this tsunami that is coming? What do you suggest?
A great, very good question. Great question. For younger generation, I would say education, AI training at grade school. It requires, to me, it requires an immediate integration model. First, introduction to AI, then the hands-on project in data science. And in my experience, launching AI clubs at schools as extracurricular activities, if the students have interests beyond official curriculum in the classroom. For parents, it's the social media, it's TV, cinema, panel discussions such as ours, and so, and even in professional fields, such as AI, like implementing systematic awareness in human resources, recruitment strategies to hire individuals with interdisciplinary skill sets who will be more prepared for the upcoming changes. What I would like to further emphasize is the role of governments, the World Bank, IMF, International Monetary Fund, the UN, G20, in establishing a roadmap for a worldwide plan. We are living in a global village. To coordinate our effort and prepare for this sweeping AI revolution and a smooth transition, we need an educated workforce before the work transition happens. So all of this together come into play.
Absolutely. I completely agree. We need to do that at a massive scale. Like, as you said, governments, World Bank, UN, all of them, they have to help us in doing this. This is a big task. So thank you so much. I think it's so important to have sessions like this. It's just fantastic, great insights. Amazing. And well, I really appreciate both of you for these amazing, sharing your amazing insight and your experience with us. We actually received some questions from our dear audience, and if you both agree, I want to move on to answering these questions. Sure. And you're both welcome to answer. So we have one question from, and not sure, are we going to unmute our friend or should I go ahead and ask the question? I think I'm going to ask the question. So one of our friends asked, how can we register for the internship and internships and workshops that Mojgan Jun mentioned? Mojgan Jun, can you please help this great friend of ours to understand how they can sign up for your workshops?
Thank you for their interest in our work. You should go to the website, our website, and also to contact. And also we have a LinkedIn group. The first step to joining our program is our LinkedIn group, World Innovations Network LinkedIn group. We'll post events and update. So the next workshop, probably you will know what is happening. What we are doing, mostly what we envisioned was to have these workshops, these new kind of trainings in community colleges, because I always say talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. These services are offered for free because in Ivy League schools at expensive universities such as Stanford, all of this are offered to students at high cost. But community colleges have not received the attention that they deserve. We also have like what we call a light workshop. So if the demand is higher than we anticipated, we'll have like a sort of a limited workshop series with Zoom. So we just contact us so we know who is asking for what, and we'll make the next move, next step.
Great. Thank you so much, Mojgan Jan. We also, I'm seeing that in the chat, we have the email address and also the network address of both of our panelists here. So if you want to follow up with them, please have a look in the chat. So we have some other questions coming. I think we are unmuting our friends to ask their questions now. So do we have any questions? Our participants? The first question, I see there are some questions. So Azita John, thank you for joining us. I think you have a question, so please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you so much for all the speakers yourself. This has been very enlightening. My question is it true to assume technological unemployment appears to be growing alongside rising inequality? And is there a direct relationship between the two?
Wow, great question. Thank you. Both of you are welcome to answer. Yassi Jan, Mojgan Jan, please go ahead. Yassi Jan, maybe we start with you.
Sure. So yeah, I definitely there's a direct relation between the two. So if you imagine that there will be technological unemployment, what that means is that there will be a few very privileged that own the machines. Everything gets done by the machines, and very few own those machines, right? And those are the haves, and the rest are the have-nots. So theoretically, yes, but do I believe we are going that way? I don't think so. Now, we have to design this. I'm not naive that there is danger in that. And I think we have to have concerted efforts between government, industry, other NGOs, universities, school systems, to really be intentional about it. But yeah, there's definitely a direct relationship if we assume there will be technological unemployment.
Excellent. Mojgan Jan, would you like to add something?
Thank you. Yes, I think inequality is always, the problem with inequality is always having less access to opportunities, such as minorities. But I think in the future, when with the prosperous society, there will be more opportunities to share with everyone. But at the same time, as Yassi Jan mentions, I think policymakers, governments should launch programs that addresses these inequality and these problems, issues. But with automation, we definitely have more tools to, like back in the University of Illinois in Champaign, Urbana-Champaign, we had an outreach program. I was part of it. And also East St. Louis district, which was one of the most dangerous part of the city. It was the implementing technology, both content and infrastructure, into African Americans, which was the larger minority group and less privileged. So we provided computer, we refurbished them, we put them in place, networked them, and then we invited youth to come in and just express themselves. And so there are many solutions to this issue, and people in charge, like governments and public authorities, are more able to leverage their opportunities to the minorities.
Excellent, great.
Thank you.
I see that there is another question from Shiva. Shiva Jan, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Okay, hi ladies. Thank you so much. It was very interesting and I really enjoyed it. And I took some notes for especially for my children.
Awesome.
Definitely they're young generation and they need all of this, all of this information to just pick their future and decide about their job, the future. Actually, my question is that what kind of new jobs and in particular new skills can offset the jobs losses? Can you just give me some idea and some opinions about it? Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question, Shiva. We start with Mojgan Jan this time.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get the question. What kind of jobs?
I can read the question. I think it was, what kind of new jobs and in particular new skills can offset the job losses? So what kind of new jobs and skills can we actually have if we're losing our jobs, develop?
Well, definitely digital skills and just acquiring new skills often, time than before. So it will help to be at a better position to cope with this situation. So digital skills definitely across all ages and all levels, I think, whether you're a student or a parent or in your mid-career, I think just learning and learning and be aware is the best way to go about it.
Awesome. Yassi John, would you like to add?
Sure. You know, when you look at what are the most at-risk jobs today, are those that are basically the content of it is repeatable tasks, whether it is cognitive or physical. So if I'm in a job that has that characteristic, I better prepare myself and start upskilling. The kind of jobs that will be in demand, I believe the STEM workforce, STEM work, there will be opportunities for it. That goes to Mojgan Jan's point of digital skills. But I also think there is opportunity for blending of digital and artistic skills. Just think of, again, an example that has already started, all the UI UX designers. That is a blending of technology and art skills. And that's gonna continue. So anything that machines can do easily, that's where I would go.
Wonderful. Thank you both. Thank you so much for your answers. Awesome. I see another question is we received from another one of our friends, Laudan. Laudan John, can you please, yes?
We have another question before Laudan.
Oh, sure. Please.
We'll unmute Bola.
Bola, please unmute yourself and please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, friends. I am calling you from Madagascar. Thank you, Azita, for this invitation, which is very, very relevant. I am a country representative for the United Nations for Industrial Development, so it is very relevant for me. Thank you to our panelists as well for the very insightful recommendations. I have two questions. The first one is to Mrs. Moghaddam. You have provided some recommendations for middle-aged workers and for young people, but in the case of women and mothers who are having their small shops or sewing, handcrafting, and while housekeeping, how can they take advantage of this unprecedented change? And how can they, as you say, partner with technology in an inclusive way, as they don't have always time to allocate to learning?
Great.
How can they adapt, and what kind of skills should they acquire so to keep their jobs, for example, and still serve their household?
Thank you.
This is the first question. The second one is to Mrs. Momeni. You talked about the industrial revolution, the industry 4.0. In developing countries like Madagascar, the opportunities that we have, one of the quickest internet connection here in Africa, but this revolution is not yet next door. which leaves us time, I think, to better prepare the workforce. But the question is, regarding the education, at which level should this preparation start so that we will not be left behind and best prepare for this digitalization or industrial
Okay,
revolution.
great, Bola. Thank you so
very
much.
much.
Thank you. So we go with Yassi June with the first question.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I think the beauty of what you asked is that today there are many, many more opportunities to actually contribute to work remotely. And I would actually try to look at what are the things that can be done in my area that I could do via an internet connection, assuming internet connections can come handy. You know, I'm ignorant about the locale of where you live, but I would try to actually explore some common tools like internet collaboration tools, just like what we're doing here, to see how I can help out while staying at home, while with my kids, in certain sector of the economy. Being a teacher nowadays, you could really teach from home. Or you know, lots of other things, a call center, or you know, lots of other opportunities. But that's what I would look into.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you for your answer, Yassi John. Mojgan, would you like to go for the second question?
Absolutely. First of all, I would like to add to Yassi John's brilliant response and comments. We had a project in Baluchistan and India as well, through the iEarn global and educational network. It's one thing that comes to mind in Madagascar. I think there must be some indigenous artwork. So they can launch maybe e-commerce. So utilizing technology and they can take pictures of their beautiful handworks, artworks, and put it in there so they can be at home and create beautiful things, and through e-commerce, and also learn basic computer skills for women. And these things needs assistance from the UN to provide sufficient internet and facilities and infrastructure like antennas and wireless antennas in places where people can actually work remotely. And so to answer the question about the age level, if I'm right, where they can start so they don't lag behind, is I think it's grade school. It has to start from primary school. Immediately, things have to, like kids, they're smart and resilient. We have to start the education from grade school up to high school, and even with people like at home, parents learning computer skills. That helps a lot to be on top of things.
Fantastic. Bola, actually, I know Bola. She has 4 brilliant children, and every week we're actually getting together and they're learning leadership skills. So Bola, you're on the right track, and we really appreciate your questions. Awesome. Thank you so much. And everyone else, thank you so much for your wonderful questions. We can answer one more question. I think this question is from Ladan. Ladan, can you unmute yourself?
Hello to everyone. Thank you so much for a very educational session, Azita Jan, and all of our guests. My question is how artificial intelligence and automation would impact different industries in general.
Thank you, Ladan. Yassi Jan, can we go with you?
Sure. So AI and automation has really impacted every sector of the economy. And that's why, you know, you hear digital transformation. That's part of the digital transformation efforts across the board. So, you know, it started with manufacturing, and manufacturing now is, you know, started from 30 years ago. And now in manufacturing, we have things like digital twins and things that, you know, in the virtual world, the characteristics of what we're manufacturing can be analyzed and save costs. In transportation, huge shift in transportation. I talked about that with autonomous vehicles, and not just the vehicle themselves. I really think 10, 15 years from now, when they are out in the streets, these are going to be platforms of innovation. They're going to be like iOSs of cars out there. In healthcare, Mojgan mentioned, you know, in imaging and diagnosis, AI has made a lot of things simpler. And in surgery, actually, robots are used in surgery for precision surgeries. You know, that's a case of partnering with doctors, not, you know, not replacing doctors. I don't think anytime soon AI will replace doctors, especially not my doctor. And in education, of course, Mojgan is the expert. You know, she mentioned a lot of areas. I think in general, what I see is the promise of personalized learning, using all the data analytics, and really that could revolutionize education. And you know, those are a few that I see.
Wonderful. Mojgan, if you want to just add your also your opinion to the question for Ladan quickly, we really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Of course, Yassi has covered everything, but to me, in general, automation affects all aspects of life, whether professional or personal, across all industries, business, technology, education. Some C-level executives believe if you don't adapt automation within the next 5 years, you will lose the competition, definitely. So it's just, it brings a lot of goodness to the world.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. Ladan, thank you for your awesome question. Thank you everyone for your great questions. We really appreciated your participation. Again, thank you, dear Yassi and dear Mojgan. I truly enjoyed this session. It was very informative, very eye-opening. We're very thankful to you for giving us your precious time and sharing your valuable insights and experience. What you shared, I'm sure, will help a lot of people to prepare better for the future. And we hope you, our dear friends, have also enjoyed this session and also took plenty of notes to share with others. If you didn't have to answer your questions, or if you have more questions, you can communicate with our panelists directly by email, and we already have their email addresses in the chat section. We have also included their website addresses in case you want to follow up and join their networks. So dear friends, rather than shrinking from this oncoming storm of change, or fighting it, we can all draw energy from it. This rapid change is coming and is inevitable. And so we need to accept it, and we need to accept change. And we need to be flexible and adaptable to what's coming. In fact, we need to accept and adapt to uncertainty. Our young generation needs to learn to become more comfortable with making shifts without losing focus. They need to constantly update their technological knowledge and skills, but also learn and master foundational skills such as problem solving, leadership, critical thinking, basic communication skills, and more. We may still be decades away, as our friends mentioned, from flying cars and civilian spacecrafts, but workplace technology will become more intelligent, and we will be able to perform a lot of routine tasks just with automation and machines. So today, as Yassi Jan mentioned, we work with machines, and tomorrow we will partner with them because they will become smarter. Of course, technological changes will have benefits such as higher productivity, improved corporate performance, which creates more prosperity for some, but it will also demand different skill sets. Advanced technologies demand us to understand how these machines work and requires us to innovate, develop, and adapt to them. So there's a huge need for all of us to develop basic digital skills, as our panelists several times mentioned. But also, there is a big need for social and emotional skills that machines are long away from mastering, thank God. There will be a huge demand for higher cognitive skills, such as creativity, critical skills, customer relations, and management skills. And this really shows strong need and growth in the areas of social and emotional skills. So there will be less demand for physical and manual skills as some of these jobs are being automated and replaced. So the future demands all of us to become more innovative in our thinking and in our actions, and it demands us to get out of our comfort zones and welcome change. But the good news is robots can never, or at least for a very long time, can't replace us, and the need for human connection will only rise. And before we say goodbye, let me say a few words about IAWF and our mentorship program, please. The mission of the Iranian American Women Foundation is to provide a platform for empowerment and networking among Iranian American women, and to provide mentorship to younger generations of Iranians locally and globally. The foundation inspires young women to follow their dreams and helps them to achieve their highest potentials. We currently have about 100 mentees. Our mentorship program brings the seasoned skills and achievements of our leaders to the aspiring younger generation of Iranian Americans and expose them to the new ideas and ways of thinking, and provides them with valuable guidance as they develop their educational and professional careers. So make sure to visit our website if you're looking for a great mentor, and also if you want to be a mentor and you feel that your knowledge and skills can benefit others. The program is open to students and young professionals between the ages of 17 to 32 who are looking to connect with professionals in their fields of interest. So together, with your help, we can bring some of this type of discussions that need to be heard. We are here for you, and we also need your support. In fact, we decided to give a copy of Yassi Moghaddam's book, The Future of Work, to those of you who will become a member today. So please join us and become a paying member today, and we will send you a copy of Yassi's book, and also, I believe, one of these beautiful scarves. Gorgeous. Join the network and become a member, and let's learn and grow together. Our website address is www.iawf.org. We will come back with another session, and we hope to see you all soon again. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.